Luther, the first of the fallen, the man amongst gods. So Luther's a pretty cool character in 40k, and quite frankly, for some reason, after reading Descent of the Angels, my interest in him has peaked dramatically. So you may be thinking, Connor, why are we talking about Luther? Come on, dude. Didn't you just say your favorite characters were Angron and Karn and, you know, so many other characters that honorably got mentioned? Yes, they were. But Luther is really, really cool. And it's in the way that, well, you get a very human perspective from him. And I know in a lot of my videos, I tend to, if you haven't seen a lot of my videos, I really tend to emphasize that the side characters make the main characters. And in Descent of the Angels, Sahariel and Nemiel were the main characters, and Luther was a side character. And in his interactions, you can really see the difference in how he views everything and how, you know, Nemiel, Sahariel, the Lion view everything. He is, I think, really just a great character and an awesome, like, portrayal of what it would really be like to be human and then grow up with all these people who would then come to almost outshine you. Because let's bring it to, you know, here's the foundation for everything for Luther. Luther is a fantastic warrior and a man of notable accomplishment. Pre-Imperium Caliban, Luther was that guy. He was him in all sense of the word. Luther was the guy you go to get shit done because he accomplished so much. And then you have Sahariel, this new initiate, who later finds out he's a psyker, and then later finds out he can pull, you know, the most badass warp magic shit ever and kill a beast of Caliban, just like a lion of Caliban, much like Lionel L. Johnson. This is another thing that no one can now accomplish because that was the last one. This is another accomplishment taken and stripped from Luther, who's already feeling sort of inadequate because, as I said in a previous video when I was going over Descent of the Angels, where I reviewed the book, Luther puts such high expectations on himself that he fails to meet always. And I understand why, because we've all probably been at this point where, hey, I'm not achieving what I can achieve, I need to set the bar higher. And then you achieve what you need to, you keep setting this bar higher until it becomes a new standard. Luther does that to the 20,000th degree. Luther just keeps going and going, but then he's placed with Nemiel, who is by all accounts a prodigy and generational talent within the Knights of Caliban, and then later the Dark Angels. And then the Lion. Luther refers to the Lion as his brother, and before I really knew anything about the Dark Angels, I just assumed Luther was like his proto-father figure. But reading it, he really does love the Lion, and that's what makes Luther just so much more empathetic and kind of painful in a way, because Luther genuinely respects the Lion and what he's done. But think about it. When you're the man who's done everything, you have records on records, you know, in a sense. How does it feel when you have this demigod pull up and just do everything better than you? You know, there's a two sides to Luther where he's trying so desperately to be the brother that Lionel thinks he is, because this is a man who he reintroduced to civilization. You know, he raised the Lion, basically, educated him in the ways of Caliban and chivalry and how to be effective as a leader. But the Lion basically disregards Luther and says, hey, after this campaign with the Saroshi, which was in Descent of the Angels, I need you and Sahariel to return to Caliban because our numbers aren't what they, you know, should be. And this just is really, the straw that breaks the camel's back for Luther, because this, you're just resigning this man who was, in fact, chapter master, leader of basically the Dark Angels besides Lionel. He was second in command, and he just diminishes everything that pre-Caliban, you know, pre-Imperium Caliban, all this. Luther just keeps getting knocked down. And still, what makes it worse is that, you know, at one point he becomes a puppet for Chaos, but then Chaos rescinds, you know, their powers on him, and he's just totally broken and just aware that he's still trying to help the angels, but he's failed, and he's now trying to help, you know, with the Risen and all that. And keep in mind, I haven't read the Lion's new book. That will be very soon, though. I'm taking a break from the Heresy after I read Legion, and then I'm gonna hop back into it. So I'm gonna take like a book break and find something else to read, probably Brutal Cunning. But besides that, I'm just saying it's rough, and Luther's just awesome. You know, I know he maybe not content-wise, he may not be the most entertaining character, but when it comes to Luther, the character, for me, like the person, because I like to analyze the characters, and I like to pick apart parts where I can relate to and parts where I can empathize with and sympathize with. Luther is very realistic for a character, because we all have either felt like Luther or know someone like Luther who's put such high expectations on themselves that are unrealistic, by the way, because again, let's be real here. Luther is genetically enhanced, but he is not a Space Marine. He's weaker than Space Marines, and he certainly does not match up to the Lion of all people. And yet he still needs to prove himself. He needs to, because this is the man who didn't need to prove himself at one point, because he already had his accomplishments, which if he realized that his legends are still legends in Caliban, that he is in fact still a strong, notable, respectable warrior, maybe he wouldn't have fallen to chaos. Maybe it would have taken him longer to fall to chaos. Who knows? You know, I don't want to drag it out. Luther's an interesting character. I was going to make this a longer video, but this is maybe going to be, I'll look back at this and expand upon this, but I just wanted to talk about this. Luther's great, guys, and let me know. Listen, if you're not a Dark Angels fan, you're probably not going to be a fan of this video, but Luther's awesome. If you have anything to say on Luther, Dark Angels in general, where his story's going, or what you think's going to happen to Luther when the Lion eventually meets back up with him, drop them down in the comments. And that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, I always appreciate it. Didn't like the video, that's tough. Sorry to hear that. But you like the video so much you want to subscribe, appreciate it too. Otherwise, thank you guys. I am out of here.